If you've ever dreamed of working remotely and enjoying the freedom to work from anywhere, today's video is for you. Now, when we talk about working remotely, that can mean different things depending on the type of job, the company, and even your location. Not all remote jobs are the same. That's why in this video, we're going to break down 5 distinct types of remote jobs you really need to know about. From fully remote positions, where you get the ultimate freedom to work anywhere in the world, to hybrid jobs, where you split your time between home and the office, we'll dive deep into each type. I'll even give examples of companies hiring for these roles, as well as tips on how to land one. So whether you're looking to become a digital nomad or just want more flexibility in your current career, stick around. I guarantee you'll leave here with better knowledge on where to focus your job search. Let's start with the remote job that's on everyone's wish list, fully remote jobs. Imagine having the flexibility to work completely from anywhere, whether you're lounging on a beach, sitting at a cafe in Paris, or curled up at home. Fully remote roles mean you are not tied to a specific physical location. You aren't commuting to an office, and you aren't expected to live in one country or region. So if you dream about traveling while working, this is probably the type of remote job that you want. Now, here's the sweet spot for these jobs. In most fully remote companies, work is done asynchronously. That means you're not tied to a concrete 9-to-5 work schedule. As long as you meet deadlines, communicate clearly, and deliver results, you're free to decide when and where you get things done. For example, let's say you land a job as a senior front-end developer at Smart. In the job description, you'll likely see the phrase location independent. This means that, quite literally, you could be in any location, no restrictions. Whether you're in Australia, Spain, or hopping between locations every couple of months, the company doesn't mind at all as long as you get your work done. That sounds incredible, right? Total freedom and the ability to work on your terms. But wait, there's more. There's real opportunity in the fully remote space for a variety of skills and industries. Whether you're a software developer, marketer, designer, or even project manager, there are tons of roles available. So, how does an asynchronous setup typically work? Let's break it down. In fully remote, asynchronous roles, the focus is on the results, not the hours you clock. Everything is often handled through project management platforms like Trello, Asana, or Jira. Team collaboration happens on tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams, and everyone contributes according to their own time availability. So theoretically, if you're most productive at 10 p.m., you can get your work done at 10 p.m. This approach also reduces unnecessary meetings. You don't have to constantly be on call, which can be a huge relief if you've ever worked in a corporate environment where your day was consumed by back-to-back Zoom meetings. Most fully remote companies understand that as long as productivity stays high, employees don't need to be glued to their desks during specific hours. For example, Sarah is a graphic designer who works fully remotely for a digital agency based in New York, but she lives in Bali. She starts her day early in the morning, around 6 a.m. aligning with New York time for just a couple of meetings. Then, by noon, she's free to head to the beach or explore local spots. Sarah uses project management tools like Figma and Slack to stay on top of her design projects, and she delivers her work just as effectively as someone working a traditional 9-to-5 in New York. You're probably thinking, this is it. How do I get one of these fully remote dream jobs? Well, it's all about how you position yourself online. First, make sure to highlight any remote work experience you've had on your resume. If you've freelanced or done side projects remotely, this counts. Even managing a small remote project or team adds credibility. Fully remote companies want to see that you're capable of working independently and effectively. Look for job postings on major remote job boards like We Work Remotely, Remote.co, and FlexJobs. These platforms have hundreds of jobs from companies looking specifically for remote talent, especially in tech and digital fields. Alright, now the next type of remote job is what we call remote within time zones. These are slightly different from fully remote jobs because, while you can still work from home or anywhere within a certain geographic area, the company specifies that employees need to be located within certain time zones. Why do some companies do this? It's usually because they rely on some level of synchronous communication, which is a fancy way of saying that sometimes, you need to be online at the same time as your teammates. This translates into time zone overlap requirements. For instance, a company might say, we need employees in European time zones, or you need to have a 4-hour overlap with Pacific time. This way, the team can collaborate live for meetings and urgent communications. For example, let's look at HostAway. Hostaway is hiring for a senior PHP engineer, remote, but with the requirement that applicants be based in EMEA time zones, which stands for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. The reason for this is that their team collaborates synchronously on certain days, and they need team members to be available during the same core hours to attend meetings and respond promptly to real-time decisions. These kinds of remote jobs are ideal for people who don't mind having some structure in their workday but still prefer to avoid the traditional office or long commutes. It's like having the best of both worlds, flexibility with some built-in structure. So, what are the benefits of these types of remote roles? First off, they're still really flexible compared to fully in-office jobs. You don't have to be physically present, but just need to be available for a certain part of your workday to stay in sync with your team. However, the challenge in here is the restriction on your location. You can't just be anywhere. For example, if you're based in Asia and the job requires US PST time zone overlap, that probably won't be a good fit, unless you're comfortable working in the middle of the night. Take Alex. Alex is a software developer who works for a company based in the UK, but he's living in Romania. His company needs a 3-hour overlap every day for morning meetings and feedback sessions with the team back in London. This works perfectly for Alex because he can complete projects in the afternoon without constant interruptions. As you can see, these kinds of remote jobs often require some level of awareness when it comes to time zone compatibility. Always check the job description carefully, especially when it mentions terms like overlap hours or sync collaboration period. And if you're someone who enjoys flexibility but doesn't mind some structure and live collaboration, remote jobs within time zones will work really well for you. Now let's talk about remote jobs within a country. These roles specify that you can only work remotely as long as you're within a specific country. They aren't concerned with which city you live in but do need you to reside in that country. For example, you probably come across job listings like remote, US only or remote, Canada only. While you're still allowed to work from home, the company's policy or regulations dictate that you must reside in country. This often comes down to legal or regulatory factors. For example, some industries, like finance or healthcare, require employees to be physically present in the home country for compliance with labor laws, taxes, and more. It could also be due to the company's systems being set up for payroll or HR practices in a given country. For example, if you apply for a solutions engineer role at Normalize, you'll probably see a description that says remote, US only. This role is remote, but because Normalize has specific employment contracts tied to US regulations, the company can only hire within the United States. Even if you're living abroad temporarily, you wouldn't qualify for this remote role. Let's meet David. He's a cybersecurity specialist who works for a fintech company in New York, entirely remotely. However, because the company handles a lot of sensitive and regulated data, employees like David must remain within the US to comply with data protection laws. He works remotely from his home office in Florida but attends occasional virtual security webinars hosted by the New York headquarters. The key to landing a country-specific remote job is to double-check the application requirements right off the bat. Look for keywords that specify things like US only, UK only, or even remote across Australia. If you're living abroad or in the process of relocating, make sure the company allows for remote workers from your future location. If you're based within the company's country and have the skills they need, go ahead and apply. The remote aspect still gives you the flexibility to avoid the commute, while staying compliant with national laws and regulations. Next up, remote jobs within a city. Think of this as a more localized kind of remote work. It still gives you flexibility to work from home, but your employer wants you to be close enough to come into the office occasionally, even if it's just a few times a year. Usually, it means the company might want face-to-face collaboration at certain times, but not on a daily basis. So while your routine could largely be remote, you need to live within the same city or metropolitan area so that you're available when needed. An example could be a Tableau developer role at Ankara. The company may ask for candidates based specifically in Bangalore, India. While the role is fully remote day-to-day, the company might schedule in-person meetings quarterly or perhaps even annually. This way, you're remote most of the time but close enough to pop by the office when it's necessary. These jobs work well for workforce planning or when a company has smaller but tight-knit project teams who occasionally collaborate better in person. The benefit here is that you still avoid the daily commute, hassle, and rigidity of office work, but your proximity to the office allows for sporadic in-person collaboration. It balances flexibility and connection. The downside, though, is that you won't have the ability to just move across the country if you want to. You're tied down to living in a specific city. So while the job is remote, if you dream of living in another country or city, this might not fit your long-term goals. Raj, who is a software developer based in Bangalore, says this type of arrangement has worked perfectly for him. He works remotely the majority of the time, but every quarter, the team holds a hackathon weekend at the office. These events allow teams to get together, brainstorm, and troubleshoot big projects before heading back to their remote setups. Finally, we arrive at the hybrid type. Now, hybrid jobs blend in office and remote workdays, giving you the best of both worlds. Some people call this a remote job, but in truth, it's more of a part-time office setup. In hybrid jobs, you're typically working from home or wherever you prefer for most of the week but are asked to come into the office either once a week or maybe a few days a month. Let's break down how a typical hybrid workweek looks. Imagine you're working as a Java developer at 1&1. You spend Monday, Wednesday, and Friday working from home, coding, collaborating with your team on Slack, and joining virtual stand-up meetings. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you head into the Munich office to meet your team for in-person strategy sessions and project briefings. What's appealing about hybrid jobs is that they give you the chance to stay connected with your team on a more personal level while still providing the flexibility and independence that so many remote workers value. You get the best of both worlds. Of course, hybrid roles do have their challenges. Commuting, even if it's only once or twice a week, can still be a hassle. And if you're living far from the office or decide to move, those in-office days could interfere with your plans. So before you take a hybrid job, think carefully about how much you value in-person interaction versus the convenience of working remotely. But if you love being part of an office culture and don't mind showing up occasionally for meetings or team-building events, hybrid jobs can be a nice bridge between freedom and structure. Jane works as an account manager at a hybrid company that emphasizes flexibility. She commutes twice a week but works from home the other days to balance office interaction with solo work. So there you have it, 5 distinct types of remote jobs that you can explore, each offering its own balance of freedom, flexibility, and structure. Whether you're looking for the ultimate freedom of a fully remote job, or prefer the occasional office down the street with a hybrid role, remote work has evolved so much that you can now choose what works best for your lifestyle. It's all about knowing yourself. What kind of schedule do you need? Do you enjoy collaborating in person, or are you someone who thrives in an independent, asynchronous workflow? The beauty of the remote world is that there's something for everyone. And hey, if this guide has helped you understand the different types of remote jobs better, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got regular content coming your way about navigating remote work, improving productivity, and landing your dream role. Trust me, you'll want to stay connected. A final takeaway, don't forget to do your research before applying. Make sure the remote job you're applying for really aligns with your work preferences, whether it's fully remote, time zone based, or hybrid. Every remote job requires different levels of independence, time management, and communication skills. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck finding the perfect remote job that fits you. See you in the next video.